Clayman is not that bad of a person. Rimuru is not that OP and had to work towards it. Indeed, this story is full of icebergs that can be taken at face value. So let's go and explore some things you didn't understand in TenSura. Hello comrade, my name is Mahis. Come, get yourself a beverage and sit down with me. We got a slime to poke. In order to get to the bottom of this, we got to start from zero. Names. They're not that simple and are very important to the plot since it is set around monsters who are usually supposed to be nameless. You see, when you give somebody a name, you transfer a great amount of magicules to them. It boosts their stats across the board, expands their cognitive abilities, or grants them sentience if they didn't have any. It's a very resource-demanding task, and many simply don't have the mana reserve to do that. Moreover, depending on the species, recovering energy might be difficult to the point of losing it completely. So, from a survival point of view, it doesn't make sense for monsters to give their children a name due to the fact that you lose more magic than the target gets. How do humans and such have so many names then? They're just built different and names don't play a role in their evolution. But when it comes to monsters, there are three types of naming, with the most common one being a master-servant relationship. Pretty self-explanatory. You create a bond by granting somebody a chunk of your power, sometimes even skills, and you live happily ever after. The second type is named by many, a very rare process when an individual receives a name through a collective belief of a large number of people and doesn't create a bond with either of them. The third one is called equal naming, and is likely unique to one Stormy Boy because there are no other examples. Instead of a one-and-done kind of deal, souls create a two-way link with each other, allowing them to borrow magicules when needed and even sharing certain skills. Here's where we transition into the second topic of the video and talk about our adorable blue blob. This soul corridor that they've established is key to why Rimuru got so strong, as without it, he'd be dead after naming all the goblins. Nope, we're not done with names yet. Remember how in order to do it safely, you need a great amount of magic plus an ability to restore it? Well, Veldora is technically a ginormous battery, and slimes passively absorb magic from the atmosphere, which means that they are a one-of-a-kind duo and can name pretty much anything in large quantities. On top of that, thanks to Gluttony, Rimuru can use energy around the target for naming purposes. The other half of why Slime got so OP is his unique skill Predator. Not only does it provide a near bottomless inventory space with some perks, it also gives him a chance to learn a normal skill upon analyzing something he ate, and even a unique skill if it's surrendered willingly. Examples, Geld the First and Shizu. Then, due to the abundance of said skills, he can merge and evolve them to create more powerful versions. Undoubtedly, these two things help Rimuru get super strong. However, it took him years to get to an overpowered level, as unlike in many other isekais, there are dozens of people who would fold him 10 times over even in his demon slime form. The reason he survived long enough not to be scared of that is pretty simple. Wink wink at those who know how utterly sarcastic that statement is. It's pretty simple. He was minding his own fucking business. So when someone showed up to see what's what, he was welcoming, hospitable, and made sure to not cause anyone problems, which bit him in the ass eventually, forcing him to become a demon lord and setting him on a path of perpetual power-ups. But in order to get there, he had to pick his fights and be very careful with all his political endeavors for almost 3 years. Now, let's take a little break from lore and look at his slice of life instead. We've seen many times how Mr. Tempest remembers his good old days working for the company and compares it to what he does here. One specific example is about drinking with a bunch of co-workers, and this is something quite rare for us Western people. Turns out, a lot of Japanese companies are structured in a way that there is little to no personal interaction with the bosses. So this is their way of helping their employees build relationships, and it is even considered essential for those who are looking to climb a career ladder. The practice is called nomikai, which basically means a drinking party and can be held for a variety of reasons, including a project end, a new hire, or just a weekly get-together. What makes this tradition so interesting is the etiquette. Among other things, lower-ranked employees must keep the glasses of their senpais full at all times, to the point where during formal events, certain juniors would often be standing up attentively, waiting for a chance to pour the supervisor another round. And if you thought that was weird, listen to this. It's totally okay to get drunk and step a bit out of line, because people understand and nobody will take what you do seriously or hold it against you. Obviously, you can't do anything too crazy, and sometimes it feels mandatory to attendees due to peer pressure. Still, it is a good team-building practice if done right, which is exactly why it's employed by our cute squishy ruler to gain trust of his many partners in crime. Back to the plot. Have you realized that every major event in the anime was orchestrated by these schmucks? Look at this. Gelmute went around naming monsters in hopes of finding someone who can ascend to demon lordhood. What for? So that this douchebag can have more demon lords on his side of the council and more firepower in general. For example, Tyr found out that Frey is afraid of fighting an off-brand Veldora that is about to resurrect, and he offered to dispose of it in exchange for a favor. He tasked the Alliance to deal with the fish thing, so they tricked Phobio into attacking the destroyer, which fulfilled their promise to the Harpy Queen. Then, there was some wholesomeness happening in the capital of Ingracia, which Yuki was kinda part of, and right around that time, Clayman's plans got too ambitious for his own good. He was preparing a war between Falmus and Tempest, to both eliminate the nation of monsters as they were a nuisance and use their souls to evolve into a true demon lord. Moreover, he used the favor that Frey promised in order to enthrall Meline with the Orb of Domination, after which he proceeded to threaten to use those butt cheeks against her if she ever disobeyed, and ordered them to destroy Carrion along with his kingdom. At this point, even his friend was telling him to slow down and think about it thoroughly, but he ignored the warning and fell into everybody's trap. Meline warned Urizen in advance, Frey let this dude live, Tempest took care of attacking forces, heck, Clayman even bought the fabricated story about Veldora's resurrection like it was on Black Friday sale, which made him assume that slime was a fluke and can be safely disposed of during Walpurgis. As you can see, moderate Harlequin Alliance and its new boss are stirring a lot of trouble, so you can already tell who will be the one to make Rimuru's life a bit more complicated in the foreseeable future. Now we can talk about Clayman. Something was bothering me after his defeat. His plan and its execution was fucking terrible. You know how I like to make fun of incompetent villains, and this doesn't sound like what a triple-digit IQ great mastermind would do. Well, it's only implied that he is this good. We actually don't see him succeeding at all, and so on. Except that he has become a demon lord with his comparatively pathetic powers. He has built a powerful nation, and for all intents and purposes, he does control the world to a certain extent due to his trading relationships with other countries. So where did it all go wrong, and why do I say that he's not that bad of a person? It happened gradually, over a long period of time, maybe even a century ago, when a certain someone took control of Clayman.
Was Laplace actually suggesting that I'm being controlled by someone else?
For starters, he was created by Kazalim and was specifically designed to have higher intellect in exchange for raw power. Plus, just like every other member of the Alliance, he was implanted with a unique trait, and in his case, it was a task to become a true demon lord. Everything went well, they were doing their thing, until a self-proclaimed demon lord appeared and clapped Kazalim's cheeks for trying to challenge him. Clayman got rightfully pissed and swore to take revenge on Leon. On top of that, he began to feel more insecure about his strength, feel inferior, annoyed by the fact that he is not at the same level of power as his friends, and even more annoyed thinking that he hasn't met his maker's expectations yet. This made his arrogance and overconfidence even worse, which he was warned about not just by Kazalim, but also by Laplace. He got so tunnel visioned that nothing else mattered. Everything and everyone turned into a tool that he was going to use to achieve his goals. Add the fact that the other demon lords have already disliked them, some even manipulated him to do their bidding, and Tatsuya Kendo, the dude I mentioned earlier, who straight up brainwashed him. In the beginning, Clayman had somewhat of an Ein Sama mentality. He was nice to his peers while merciless to his enemies. However, all of these events turned his ass into a complete lunatic, with only Fatman, Harley and Fist of the North Star being on good terms with him. How do I know that he wasn't that bad right from the get-go? It's the spin-off. Check this out. I wonder why I did something cruel like that, or why I became so inhumane. It's hardly something a remorseless person would ask themselves, and throughout this story, we can see Clayman behaving as a very responsible ruler, tending to the needs of his subordinates, having them smile and earning their trust. That's not Clayman we know. What the fuck happened? He got re-zeroed to 70 years prior to his death twice. So now he has a perspective on what he did and how it turned out. And since in this reality he can tell through all the deceit and manipulation, he doesn't fall for it and acts how he normally would. Also, take into account that he's no longer hyper-focused, considers his entire situation including his underlings, and you'll realize Clayman is not that bad of a person. He just got himself into a really bad spot.
I suppose even I make mistakes. All this scheming has led me to be a victim of my own design.
It was I, Mahis, making sense of things into the microphone. Check out Discord and Patreon in the description if you like. Otherwise, have a great, whatever time of the day you have. Until next time, cheers.